The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas, Chapter 26. Did you wonder how easily the clues came to you? The piano player at the Kit Kat, the transvestite at Codnerstraub, the producer at the office? They were all laid out for me, Breuler asked. Inspector Zimmerman nodded. Then why is it someone tried to kill me? Twice. No one tried to kill you. Breuler reached up and felt the back of his head where the blow had knocked him out. It doesn't feel like that to me. You mean it was a setup? Yes, a complete ruse. The blow on your head was a little harder than it needed to be, but our people are trained. They take it to the limit, but never over the top. And Alfred, if Alfred had wanted to kill you, you'd be dead now. You were alive because Alfred played his part perfectly. You believed it, and more importantly, Turk believed it. You see, Turk witnessed it, and that's what makes your investigation all the more believable. What do I do now? You go over and tell the woman tell them that you have been told to drop the case, to get off it, that the investigation is over. Tell them you don't know where the order came from, only that it was high up, someone higher than the police department. Tell them you think someone is following you, watching you, that the attempt on your life might not have been an isolated incident. Tell them it is your final day, that you have one more lead to follow, one last clue, before you are forced to give it up. 12 hours is what you have left. At midnight tonight, it's over. Then there are more clues. There is only one more. What? I can't tell you. You found the first ones, you'll find the next. The entire operation depends on everyone playing his or her part for real. The moment someone starts to act, it could easily be noticed, and it might all fall apart. When would you like me to report again? Breuler asked. You won't, Zimmerman said, shaking his head. A few minutes after you leave here, my office and yours will go back to the regular police officers. My part in this is finished. Where it goes from here, where you go, I don't know. Right now, you know as much as I do. Someone else takes it over from here. Someone higher up, I presume. I don't know how high up it goes, or who's at the top, who's the architect, the conductor. Maybe your part goes on from here. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe your part is over too. All I know is that mine is. Zimmerman stood up, went over and picked up a picture of his son playing football and one of his daughter with his first grandson. There is nothing personal in this, he said, turning, but I want to say that I like the way you've handled yourself. It's been a real pleasure watching you. If I didn't know you weren't a real policeman, Breuler, I would have been completely felled myself. Breuler. I just called you Breuler. Horst Breuler, isn't that funny? I don't even know your real name. Breuler watched as Zimmerman opened his briefcase and put the pictures in it, then went over to the wall and took down 2 police citations and put them in. The final thing was the picture of his wife from his desk. He held the picture, looking at it before closing the case. Good-looking woman, he said. I wonder who she is. Breuler sat there trying to sort out the real from the unreal. What was, what wasn't. Until only a few minutes ago he had thought that Zimmerman was real, a real cop. And now he wasn't. Leaving Zimmerman's office, he didn't look back because there was no Zimmerman's office anymore. He walked over to his desk. Perhaps the last clue would be on the recorder that was taping the Janos Farkas apartment. He opened the top right drawer. The recorder was gone. Someone else now had the ears. Opening other drawers, he found nothing, not that there had ever been much in the way of personal things anyway. He, too, was becoming illusion. He had chosen a profession where reality was no more than a magic lantern image projected on a wall, where truth was no more than rearranging the pitter-patter of words. There was no one to say goodbye to. He had not made friends, had been told not to, told to remain aloof, told to say that his father was high up in the Munich police department, and that was why he had made detective so young. Be arrogant, they said, say that he had deserved something better than just tourist complaints. that he hated it. Sitting at his desk for 3 weeks waiting for her, although he didn't know who her was, to come in had forced him to deal with real tourists and their petty complaints, and he found that he no longer needed to act. He really did hate it. He started the car, but sat in it going nowhere, trying to think of the last clue he was to follow. His mind came up blank. There was only one thing he could do, the one thing he had been told to do. Go to the apartment, her apartment, Ein's apartment, and tell her, them, that he was coming off the case. Maybe that's where the last clue was, at that apartment. He eased the car out onto the street and looked in his rearview mirror. 2 blocks later he saw what he was looking for, the cream-colored Peugeot. He pulled over, got out of his car, and waited. The Peugeot had no choice but to pass him. Breuer smiled and waved. Turk did not wave back. Getting back in his car, he followed the Peugeot. Was this the last clue? He stayed visibly close, changing lanes when Turk did, speeding up, slowing down, and turning corners when he did. In a matter of minutes, Breuer knew that was not the clue he was following, now that Turk was just taking him back to the apartment. They parked only meters apart. Ein and Gisela were waiting for them. "What happened?" Ein asked. "What are you doing together?" "I thought you trusted me," Breuer replied. Turk walked by without saying anything. "Well?" Breuer said, waiting for an answer. There was no answer apparent to Ein, and she replied with a weak, "I do." "Then why has Turk been following me since day one?" "It wasn't my idea." "It was mine," Gisela said, coming out of the kitchen. "Why?" "The police have not always been friends to my brother," she replied. Breuer waited, knowing that an explanation would come with it. "But of course," Gisela said to him, "if you were a real policeman, you would know that." "What do you mean, a real policeman?" Breuer shot back. "What the hell do you mean by that?" Gisela's answer was a blank stare that was impenetrable and impossible to read. Breuer knew that the look was a trap, a vacuum meant to suck a quick reaction from him that might reveal some untold truth. He had to fill that vacuum quickly, before now it was his turn to wait, to let someone else fill in the blanks. "What's going on?" Ein asked. "What's this about Janos and terrorism?" No one answered, and the not answering made it seem true. "What's in the file?" she asked Breuer. "I want to know." "Nothing," Breuer replied quietly. "Nothing at all." "Tell me," Ein asked again, her voice rising. "Nothing." "Tell me," she repeated, her voice barely below a shout. "Tell me, what's in the file?" "Nothing," Breuer replied again. "There's nothing more than a picture. It just says Jonas Farkas, suspected terrorist, that's all. There are no papers, no documents, no nothing. Just the picture." "They have nothing on my brother," Gisela said. "They never have, and they never will. They accused him of a bombing in Paris, but Jonas was in England. They accused him of one in Copenhagen, but Jonas was in Brussels. And when Madrid was bombed, Jonas was in Portugal. But they blamed him for that, too. If there is nothing in the file, it is because they have nothing to put in the file." "I had Turk follow you," she said, turning her attention to Breuer, "to see if you really were trying to find Jonas, or if you were just trying to cover up the fact that it was the police who took Jonas. Took him because they couldn't prove anything that would stand up in a court of law." "You're dead right," Breuer replied. "That's what I am, a decoy, a fake. Someone to throw you off your track. Is that why someone tried to kill me, twice? For your goddamn amusement?" "Of course," Gisela snapped. "It was very amusing. You were a patsy, a setup, only you're too stupid to know it. They are using you to make it look like some fascist gang is against Jonas. Do you think that if they were serious about this, they would have put someone as inexperienced as you on it? Of course not. Even in Germany, kidnapping is taken very seriously, especially if it's done by neo-Nazis. They hate neo-Nazis almost as much as they hate the Muslims. No, it was not a criminal gang. It was the government. Maybe Germans, maybe Americans. It doesn't matter which, they're all the same. It might even have been the Israelis. They've got a thing against Janos. What do you mean? Ein exclaimed. Americans. Americans? Why would my government be interested in Janos? Maybe you're in this too, Gisela replied. For all I know, you could be CIA. Maybe you and this cop were in it together. What a coincidence. You meet Janos, you marry him, then poof, he disappears. How convenient. How stupid, Ein replied. You think I'd marry someone because my government asked me to? Don't be stupid. I love Janos. I think Gisela is right, Brüller said. What, you think I'm an American agent too? No, I don't, he replied. At least I don't think so. But I think she's right about Janos. Do you know what a rendition is? An extraordinary rendition? What? That's when a government, your government, kidnaps someone illegally, getting them out of the country before that country has a chance to formally object. Why would this happen to Janos? You said there was nothing in his file. That's when it happens, Gisela said. They do it when they have no proof. They take them to black holes, prisons where they are tortured until they come up with some imaginary confession. But I've been to my embassy. They say they don't even know who Janos is. They say they have no file on him. They said they'd make inquiries. You came with me, Gisela. You came with me. I didn't go in with you. I told you what happened. I showed them Janos's picture. They photocopied it and said they'd make inquiries. Ein looked to Gisela for belief, and then to Brüller. Wait a minute, she said. She went to her purse, took a picture out, and showed it to Brüller. That's the picture you saw of Janos, isn't it? Brüller nodded. You see, that's it, Ein exclaimed. That's why his picture was in a file at the police office. Because the embassy was making inquiries. No, Brüller replied. If they were making inquiries, Zimmerman would have told me about it. He would have shown the photo to me. He didn't. I only discovered it by accident. I think the picture was added to another file. Gisela is right. The pressure on me to drop this is coming from somewhere higher up than the police department. What can I do? Ein asked. At the moment, nothing. They have given me until tonight to work on it. If I can't find out any more by then, go to your embassy again. Put pressure on them. Tell them you'll go to the media. What can you do in one night? Ein asked. I'm not sure, Brüller replied, but one night is all I have. There is one more clue that might lead somewhere, if I can follow it. He walked over and looked out the window. He was not interested in what he saw, only being close to the bug in the lamp, so that whoever had the ears on would hear the clue and set it up for him. The Mercedes, he said, turning. The black Mercedes, the one that tried to run me over. I saw it later, in the meat district. The piano player Albert was driving it. The one who set me up for the bang on the head at the transvestite's apartment. The producer was with him. They got away before I could turn and follow them. I want to go back to the meat district tonight, see if I can find that Mercedes. Do you know how many black Mercedes there are in Berlin? Turk asked, a sneer on his lips. I know, Brüller replied, but this one stands out. It had an odd hubcap on the left rear wheel, like someone had stolen it, and the owner hadn't bothered to replace it with the proper one. That's all? No, it had a small piece of the grille missing, like a hole. You notice those things when it's coming straight at you to run you over. He turned to the window, again not bothering with the view, but hoping that whoever had the ears on would have heard and set him up with a Mercedes that had mismatching hubcaps and a damaged grille. What he would do, when and if he found it, he didn't know. Turk, he said as he turned back to them, you might as well come with me. I've got a feeling I'm going to be watching my back tonight, and I don't want to see you every time I turn around. That's the end of chapter 26. Tomorrow, chapter 27.